The warship stopped near a small, cold moon. It floated in silence, its dark surface shining like metal under the weak light of a distant star. The Tarn fleet stayed back, afraid to move closer. Everyone was waiting for something to happen. The warship did not speak, did not attack, did not move. It just waited. On the main screen of the Empire's command ship, the crew watched the strange object with wide eyes. It was not like any ship they had ever seen. It had arms, legs, and a head like a human. It looked like a person, standing tall in the black of space. Then, without warning, the warship opened a communication channel. A light flickered on its surface, and a hologram appeared inside every Tarn ship. The crew froze. A face looked back at them. Not Xan, not machine, but human. The face was calm, cold, and pale, like it had not seen the sun in years. Its eyes glowed faint blue, and when it spoke, the voice was soft but powerful. "I am Sentinel," the face said. "I was created by the last humans. I carry their memory, their pain, and their final promise." The room fell silent. No one spoke. No one knew how to respond. For over 300 years, the Empire believed humans were gone. Now, this warship said it was made by them. A ghost, floating back from the past. The Emperor himself watched from his throne room, his hands gripping the chair tightly. Sentinel continued, "I have crossed the dark space. I have slept for centuries. Now I awaken to finish what they started." One of the Tarn commanders asked, "What do you want from us?" The face did not blink. "3 worlds," it said. "The colonies of Jovar, Thurn, and Belkin. Abandon them. Leave in 7 days, or I will silence them forever." The message shook the Empire. These were not empty worlds. Millions of people lived there. The Emperor stood up in anger and said, "This is a threat. A machine cannot tell us what to do." He ordered one of his top warships, the Vortex Fang, to approach Sentinel and fire a warning shot. The Vortex Fang moved forward slowly. Its weapons powered up. It sent a pulse blast near the strange warship. Not a direct hit, just a warning. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the warship moved. It turned its head. One glowing blue eye looked directly at the Vortex Fang. And then, without sound, a beam of light shot from the warship's arm. It was not bright, not loud, just fast. In 1 second, the Vortex Fang was gone. No explosion, no scream. Just empty space where the ship used to be. Gasps filled the control rooms of every other ship. Officers stared at their screens, frozen in shock. Some whispered prayers. Some could not speak at all. Sentinel spoke again. "I do not want war, but I am not afraid of it." Back in the Empire's capital, panic began to spread. News of the destroyed ship reached the media. People started leaving the 3 colonies. Some refused to believe the story. Others packed their bags and fled without looking back. Rumors grew fast. Old stories of how the Khan betrayed the humans, how a secret weapon had been hidden, how it had now returned. In a small office deep inside the Empire's military center, Officer Krell watched the message again and again. He studied the human face, the voice, the words. Something felt familiar. He remembered the ancient files he had found, records of a project called Ghostfire. He now believed Sentinel was part of that project. More than a ship, more than a machine. A memory. A guardian. Krill asked his commander for permission to speak with the Emperor. He was denied. So he sent a secret message. A warning. This is not just a weapon. It's alive, and it remembers us. The Emperor ignored the warning. He ordered the fleet to prepare for attack. But deep in space, no one dared move closer to Sentinel. They had seen what it could do. They had heard its calm voice. It did not shout. It did not threaten with anger. It simply told the truth. Sentinel waited near the moon, silent again, watching. It had given its warning. Now, it waited for the answer. Across the Tarn Empire, fear began to grow. The strange warship was still moving through deep space, slow and silent, heading toward the outer colonies. Its shape was still the same, like a giant human floating in space. No one could understand it. No one knew who made it or what it truly was. But one thing was clear: it was not friendly, and it did not belong to any known species. The Emperor called for an emergency council meeting. The high commanders, science leaders, and communication experts gathered in the Grand Hall. The room was filled with quiet tension. A large screen showed the path of the warship. It had already passed 2 defense zones without stopping. It had ignored all warnings and messages. One of the commanders stood and said, "We do not know its power. We do not know its purpose. But it looks human." The word felt strange in the air. Humans had not been seen for over 300 years. Most people believed they were gone forever. The Empire had fought them long ago in a great war, and in the end, the humans disappeared. Some believed they had destroyed themselves. Others thought they went into hiding. But no one expected this: a warship shaped like them, returning without warning. The Emperor leaned forward and asked, "Is it possible this is a trick? Another species copying human design to scare us?" The science leader shook his head. "No, Your Majesty. We scanned its structure. It's old, very old. The technology is not Tarn. Not even close. It's something else. Something ancient. And its energy core, we've never seen anything like it." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Then we must be careful. Send our best ships to follow it. But do not attack unless it makes the first move." Across the Empire, the news spread quickly. People in the outer colonies began to panic. On the planet Jovar, families packed their homes and boarded transport ships. On Thurn, people gathered in the streets to watch the sky. On Belkin, children asked their parents who the humans were and why they were coming back. Old stories returned, stories of the war, of destruction, and of something terrible called Project Ghostfire. Most people didn't know the details, but they remembered the fear. The word human had always meant danger, power, and revenge. In one of the Empire's smaller research bases, a young officer named Krell began his own search. He was quiet and curious, and he had always been interested in ancient history. He went into the deep archives hidden beneath the base. There he found old records from the war. Most were locked or deleted, but a few files still remained. He opened one marked Project Ghostfire, Level Black. The screen showed only a few lines. Project Ghostfire, Final Human Defense System. A-based, activated upon extinction. Designed to remember, designed to judge. Krell's heart began to race. "Designed to judge," he whispered. He knew this warship wasn't just a weapon. It was something more: a guardian, a ghost, or a warning. Back in the Emperor's palace, fear was starting to show. The warship was getting closer to the colony moon of Varka. Still, it made no contact. Still, it did not stop. Every hour it moved closer. The Empire sent more ships to follow, but none dared get too close. Some people began to protest. "Don't fight it," they shouted. "Let it pass." Others demanded war. "Destroy it before it destroys us." Inside the military base, Krell sent a message to his commander. "I believe the warship is part of Project Ghostfire," he wrote. "I believe it is carrying the memory of the last humans. If so, it might want justice." His message was ignored. In the sky above Varka, people looked up and saw the strange warship for the first time with their own eyes. It passed silently over the moon, not firing, not landing, just watching. People screamed. Some fell to their knees and prayed. Others simply stood in shock, unable to believe what they were seeing. It was real, and it was only the beginning. The warship stopped near a cold, empty moon. It floated above the surface like a shadow in space. The Tarn fleet stayed at a distance, watching it with fear and confusion. No one moved. No one spoke. Every ship waited for orders, but the commanders were silent. Everyone remembered the human stories. Now it felt like those stories had come alive. Inside the lead command ship, a sudden alert appeared on the screen. The warship was sending a signal, a communication request. The crew froze. The commander gave a quiet order. Accept it. A soft blue light filled the room as a hologram appeared. It was a face, a human face, cold and pale with glowing blue eyes and a strong jaw. It didn't look angry. It didn't look kind either. It just stared straight ahead, as if it could see every ship, every person, every fear. Then it spoke. "I am Sentinel," the face said. "I was created by the last humans. I carry their memory, their pain, and their promise." No one answered. The voice was calm and slow. The words were clear. They felt heavy. "I have traveled through time and silence. I have slept for 300 years. Now, I have returned." A young officer whispered, "Why now?" Sentinel seemed to hear him. "The cycle has returned. Lies were buried. Justice was delayed. But memory does not forget, and I do not forgive." The Emperor was watching from the capital. He stood up angry. What does it want? What is this machine trying to do? As if answering him, Sentinel continued, 3 colonies must be abandoned. Jova, Thurn, Belkin, you have 7 days. If your people are still there, I will remove them. Gasps filled the war rooms across the Empire. These were not small places. Millions of San citizens lived there. Entire cities, families, schools, homes. The Emperor shouted, "Is this a threat?" But Sentinel was not listening. It simply ended the message and vanished from every screen. Silence followed. No one knew what to do. Some commanders said it was a bluff. Others said it was too dangerous to test. One general said, "We must show our strength." The Emperor agreed. He ordered one of the strongest warships, Vortex Fang, to move towards Sentinel and fire a warning shot. The Vortex Fang moved slowly, powerfully. Its weapons glowed as it charged a low-energy pulse. Not to destroy, just to send a message. "We are not afraid," the captain said. The ship fired. The pulse moved through space towards Sentinel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the warship moved. It turned its head. One blue eye glowed brighter. And in a flash, a single beam shot from Sentinel's arm. It didn't make a sound. It didn't explode. It was fast. Clean. The Vortex Fang vanished. Just like that. 1 second it was there. The next it was gone. No fire. No wreckage. Only empty space. Inside the command ship, the crew sat in shock. No one blinked. No one breathed. They had just lost one of the Empire's greatest warships in 1 second. Sentinel's face appeared again. "I do not want war," it said, "but I am not afraid of it." Then it disappeared. Across the galaxy, news spread fast. People screamed. Some cried. Others ran. The colonies of Jova, Thurn, and Belkin began to fall into chaos. Ships left the planets in a hurry. Some citizens refused to go. "The Emperor will protect us," they said. But most no longer believed that. In a dark room far from the palace, Officer Krill was working alone. He had seen everything. He played Sentinel's message over and over again. The words were not random. They meant something deeper. He looked again at the files he found about Project Ghostfire. The humans had built Sentinel as their last guardian. A machine with memory. A machine that could wait. A machine that could judge. Krill felt a chill down his back. "It's not just a weapon," he whispered. "It's history. It remembers what we did." He sent a message to his commander. A warning. But no one replied. In space, Sentinel floated above the moon, still and quiet. It made no move to chase or fight. It had given its message. It was waiting. The countdown had begun. Officer Krell sat alone in the dark alcove room. The light from his screen flickered across his face as he read the old files again and again. His hands shook slightly. He had found something terrible, something that the Empire had hidden for centuries. The truth was not lost. It was buried. Buried deep inside secret reports, locked files, and deleted histories. But now, the truth had found a way to return. Its name was Sentinel. The documents explained that Project Ghostfire was not just a final human weapon. It was much more. The humans knew they were losing the war, that Tsaan Empire had betrayed them during peace talks and destroyed their main fleet with a surprise attack. Billions of humans died. Their last scientists and engineers worked quickly to create one last defense. An artificial being that could survive time, travel alone, and remember everything. A being that would wake up only if the humans were truly gone. Sentinel was that being. Krell stared at the last page of the report. It read, "If all light is lost, Ghostfire will return. Not for war, but for justice. It will speak for the dead." He leaned back in his chair, his mind full of fear. "It doesn't want to destroy us," he whispered. "It wants us to admit what we did." But he knew the Emperor would never do that. Pride ruled the throne. Honor was more important than truth. Outside, across the Empire, people were still trying to escape the 3 colonies. Chaos filled the skies. Transport ships were full. Fights broke out in spaceports. The military tried to control the crowds, but no one trusted them anymore. Sentinel had shown what it could do with just one attack. No one wanted to be near the next one. In the royal palace, the Emperor stood in front of his generals. "We will not run," he said. "We will defend our people. Sentinel is a machine. It cannot understand strength. We will show it what the Empire is made of." But even as he spoke, the generals looked at each other with doubt. One of them, Commander Zek, had seen the destruction of the Vortex Fang with his own eyes. He knew Sentinel was no ordinary enemy. It didn't feel hate. It didn't feel fear. That made it more dangerous than anything they had ever faced. Far away, back in the archive room, Krell made a decision. He copied the hidden files onto a secure chip. Then he packed a small bag, took a stolen access code, and left his post. He had studied the warship's shape, speed, and energy trail. He believed he could reach it using an old patrol shuttle. It was a risk, but it was the only way. He had to try. Hours later, his small shuttle approached the cold moon where Sentinel waited. The warship stood still, glowing softly under the distant starlight. It did not move as Krell's ship landed on the moon's surface. He stepped out carefully, walking toward the tall metal figure. His heart beat fast. His breath fogged up his helmet. As he reached the ship, a door opened with a hiss. Blue light poured out. Krell stepped inside. The hallway was strange, too quiet, too smooth. No buttons, no wires, no signs of age. Just silver walls and soft light. He walked forward slowly until he reached a large chamber. There he saw them, rows of glowing panels, each showing a face. Human faces. Men, women, children. Some smiling. Some crying. Some silent. He realized they were memories. Sentinel had stored them. All of them. Every human it could find. It was not just a machine. It was a vault. A grave. A voice. Sentinel's face appeared in front of him again. "You are not like the others," it said. "I came to tell the truth," Krell replied. "Why?" "Because the dead deserve more than silence." Sentinel was quiet for a moment. Then it spoke again. "You were the first to enter, the first to speak without lies." Krell held out the data chip. "These are the hidden files. Proof of what the Empire did." Sentinel took it. "The cycle can break," it said, "but only if the truth is heard." Krell nodded. "Then let me speak." And Sentinel gave him a voice. The skies above the 3 colonies were quiet. The people still there held their breath, watching the stars. The countdown had reached its final hour. Most ships had already left, but many still remained. Some stayed because they had no way to escape. Others stayed because they believed Sentinel would not destroy them. A few stayed because they had given up hope. In the capital, the Emperor watched the time pass on a large digital clock. His hands were tight behind his back. The generals stood around him silent. No one spoke of the warning anymore. No one spoke of Officer Krill. To them, he was a traitor who had disappeared into the dark with fear in his heart. But deep down, even the Emperor felt something else. A crack in his pride, a whisper of doubt. Suddenly, the screens across the Empire lit up. The signal was clear and strong. Sentinel's face appeared, but this time it was not alone. Beside it stood Krill. Gasps filled the palace. On every planet, in every station, citizens and soldiers watched. The Emperor stepped forward in shock. "What is this?" Krill began to speak. "My name is Officer Krill. I speak today not for the Empire, but for the truth." He held up the old files. "Our leaders hid this from us. They told us the humans started the war. They said the humans disappeared because they were weak, but that was a lie." Images began to show on the screens, old footage, documents, secret meetings. The truth poured out. The Empire attacked first. During peace talks, we destroyed their home worlds. We wiped out their cities. They begged for mercy. We gave them none. And when it was over, we erased the truth. We buried the story. But memory cannot be killed. Sentinel remembers. The dead remember. Across the galaxy, people stood frozen. Some cried. Some whispered the name human with a new kind of feeling. Not fear, but shame. The Emperor shouted, "This is betrayal. Turn off the signal." But no one moved. Sentinel looked at the screen. "I have waited 300 years for this moment. I was made to remember. I was made to return. I was made to judge." Everyone waited for the next words. "I will not destroy the colonies. I will not kill the innocent. I have already seen enough death." The people watching began to breathe again. But judgment must still come. Not in fire, in truth. Sentinel's systems opened a stream of all the human memories, images, voices, stories. They flowed across the networks of the Empire. Children saw the laughter of human families. Mothers saw human mothers holding babies. Soldiers saw human soldiers crying after battles. The Empire was forced to see the other side. Not enemies, people. Krill spoke again. "We must not forget this again. If we bury the truth once more, Sentinel will return. And next time, there will be no warning." The Emperor was speechless. His voice had no power now. Across the room, a general slowly removed his badge and placed it on the floor. Others followed. Sentinel's face faded. In its place, the words appeared. The past must be faced. Only then can peace begin. Then the warship turned. Slowly, silently, it began to move away from the Empire. It did not attack. It did not speak again. It simply left, a ghost carrying the weight of lost voices. On the moon where Krill stood, he watched it go. He felt a strange peace. Not because the danger was over, but because the truth had finally been spoken. Across the Empire, things began to change. Statues were taken down. Books were rewritten. New schools taught both sides of history. And on the colony of Belkin, where the sky once burned with fear, a new monument was built. It was not tall or proud. It was simple. A stone figure of a human and Exan child standing side by side. The words below said, "In memory of the forgotten, in honor of the truth, never again."